So if you're wondering what to do when you feel like that spark is gone and you don't love your work as much as you used to, and you don't feel as creative or as inspired as you used to, then this video is for you. And I think that we need to talk about this now more than ever in 2020, because I don't know about you, but I had really high hopes for this year and it hasn't panned out exactly the way I planned. Just with everything going on with the world, we have rescheduled photography sessions, we have businesses not growing as quickly as we'd like them to grow. And for that reason, I think we need to talk about how do we keep going? How do we stay inspired and revive ourselves, if you will, when we just burn out, when we inevitably have those days where we don't really want to be creative. And I think this is a very real conversation because we all get to this point. And so I have some thoughts and some tips for you, and I'm going to go ahead and share those with you now. So when I'm in this headspace where I'm just not feeling inspired, I'm not feeling creative, I don't like my work, the first thing I do is I take a break from photography. This might seem like a no-brainer, but I think it's not just taking a break from shooting, it's taking a break from thinking about shooting and thinking about being creative. Just taking that pressure off of myself and getting outside of that whole mental bubble of being a photographer can do wonders for me. Like, for instance, have you ever had a problem and you don't have the solution, but you went to bed and then you woke up in the morning and you kind of feel like you solved it? That's what I think can happen here. If you don't put so much conscious effort on the thought of photography, your brain can still make, some subconscious progress in some of the things that are blocking you and keeping you from being creative. So give yourself a break from thinking about it. So while you're taking a break from thinking about photography, make sure you're also taking a break from your surroundings, your existing, home studio, home office, or looking at your gear and your photography books all day long. I think this is huge for giving our minds a little bit of a reset. We don't want to keep adding the same ingredients in and hope to get a new outcome, right? We want some new results, some new inspiration. And so getting outside of your usual home or home office is huge for this. After you've taken a break, it's important to return to your why. Why did you start out picking up a camera and loving taking pictures in the first place? And I think that this is a great exercise for writing. I like to pull out a sheet of paper and put down on paper everything that prompted me to start this journey in the first place. And I think that can just be such a therapeutic exercise to really just get out on paper all of your thoughts, what's overwhelming you, what's blocking you, and you may find that's all you need to truly see in black and white what's really going on. And so this is really helpful for me to just get back to the core, the real reason, and make sure that I'm not being influenced by things I see online or things that a past client might have said, but rather come back to my core and my real why and my motivation for starting in the first place. So after I've taken a step away, then I've returned to my why, I really like to then set up a shoot for myself. So I think that having no client, no expectations, and even doing a shoot that I never plan on actually sharing with anyone really helps me to tap into my own creativity and think about how I want to frame the shot and not be thinking, how's this going to look on Instagram, or what does my client think, or are they going to think their hair looks good? I don't have to think about any of that. And so really just the other day I did this, I ordered a backdrop off Amazon and I just wanted to play inside with some studio lights and take some headshots for myself. So get out a self timer and play around with that. And I think that is such a fun exercise. So shooting something that you don't normally shoot, that's not for a client, that's just for fun, is a great exercise in getting back to some of your creativity and your inspiration. And that brings me to my next point, which is you can't create if you're not taking care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you're not sleeping and drinking water and moving your body and taking care of yourself, it's gonna be really hard to be creative because you're depleted and you're burnt out. And I think sometimes when I'm facing lack of inspiration in my business, it's quite simply that I just haven't been taking care of myself. And so make sure that that's not what's going on here. Make sure that you are paying attention to yourself. If you have kids, it can be really easy to just focus on them. If you have a spouse, if you have friends and family, it's easy sometimes to give and not take care of ourselves. But We can't pour from an empty cup. So make sure that you are taking care of yourself. You would be surprised how quickly inspiration can return to you when you are well rested. My next tip is to mix up your photography format. So if you're normally a film photographer, shoot digital. And I think for most of us, we're digital photographers. And I would encourage you to shoot a roll of real film, 35mm, 120, whatever you have, even Polaroid, slide film. I think this is a great exercise. It causes us to really think about the frames, the colors, the lighting. You might have to get a light meter for your film camera. You can play with reflectors. I think it just causes us to completely get outside of like our regular rut of shooting the exact same way every single time. And you might be re-inspired when you see those film slides or those digital pictures. And I think that could just be a really nice way to get us out of our own heads and mix it up a little bit. My last point is that just know that it's normal to sometimes not feel inspired and not like your work. I think there's ebbs and flows to the career of photography, and even if you're doing photography as a hobby, there's ebbs and flows to your own creativity and how much we like our work as the creative and as the artist. And just know that in those moments where you feel uninspired, you feel a little disengaged from everything that you're doing, that's an indicator that it's time to reevaluate. Think about who you're shooting, what you're shooting, why you're shooting it, and getting back to what really matters to you. So this might be a good time to mix things up, or it might be a good time to take a break. So finally, just know that it's normal to have seasons in your photography journey where you don't love your work very much, or you feel like it's just not where you want it to be, or you just feel a little bit uninspired. Totally normal. I think this is a good opportunity to do the things that we talked about here today and ask ourselves some questions, or take a break, or mix things up. I think this is just the perfect reason to go ahead and try something different in hopes that that creativity will return to us, and it will. Just know that your creativity will return. You just need to do a few things to get it back. If you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments if you're going to be implementing any of these tips for bringing back inspiration in your photography. I can't wait to hear from you guys, and as usual, I will see you next week. Bye guys.